Look, since day one, for us in Brunswick Exploration, it's always been a focus on not just finding lithium, which is a great success if you do find lithium, but it's about finding lithium mines. To give you some context, and I think it's important to give ourselves a little bit of global context when it comes to Mirage.
Yeah.
First of all, I really want to emphasize its location. This is a world-class district that's forming in the James Bay, but not just in the James Bay, but in this specific part of the James Bay. To have Patriot to the west of us, to have Winsome to the south, and then to have Mirage, to see more discoveries, more new assets be brought to bear in this small part of the world, tells me that we are absolutely where we need to be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Between Plays Stock Market Strategies. Today we have with us Killian Charles. Hey, Killian, how you doing?
Hi, Albert. Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm all right. I'm all right. So, of course, everybody out there, we all know Killian from BRW, Brunswick Exploration. Killian, recently, we've had your drilling results that have come out of Mirage. I mean, I'm really happy with the results. When you look at it, they're above 1%. For me, that's perfect. And naturally, we have other drill results that are much higher. So, what I'm curious about is that you pretty much are going to be continuing drilling at Mirage. Now, in the past, you've stated that, you'll drill at a place, whatever. If there's nothing there, it's not worth, the time. It's just gone. You're just dropping it. And you've done that. You've done that. You've proven that, your word is strong and you've done it. And here we are continuing to drill at Mirage. Now, I find that very interesting. Why are you still looking at Mirage and drilling at Mirage, given the fact that on the past you've said if there's nothing there, you're dropping it, and here you're still continuing? What's your perception here?
Look, since day one, for us in Brunswick Exploration, it's always been a focus on not just finding lithium, which is a great success if you do find lithium, but it's about finding lithium mines, right? That's what it boils down to. If you remember when we would go out staking, we would all say, look, we're going to stay within 50 kilometers from infrastructure, because if you're too far away, it's not going to work. And so it's always been woven into our DNA, our exploration DNA, that we want to find a lithium mine. And part of that concept is making sure that we have an asset that is going to be significant, right? Whether economically, geologically, whichever way we want to cut it, but it needed to have size. We always take a very aggressive view that the lithium market is in evolution. The mines that were there before are not going to look like the mines we're going to see in anywhere from the next 5 to 10 years. What's going to matter is size. Not to say that there won't be any mines that are going to be built below 50 million tons, but definitely you want to make sure that you're in an asset that can eventually hit, in our view, that minimum threshold. And that's how we work inside Brunswick Exploration. That's what we target for our assets. If our assets do not appear to be able to hit that threshold, do not look like they can be a mine, then we stop. That's the advantage of having a large portfolio, right? Of having so many targets. We can say internally to ourselves, okay, it's fine. We always all wish that they all work out perfectly, but it's fine if it doesn't. We're mature enough and smart enough to know that not all of these are going to be work out, and it needs to be a numbers game. And that's exactly what it boils down to Mirage. We're still drilling it because we see that value, we see that potential. To give you some context, and I think it's important to give ourselves a little bit of global context when it comes to Mirage.
Yeah.
First of all, I really want to emphasize its location. This is a world-class district that's forming in the James Bay, but not just in the James Bay, but in this specific part of the James Bay. To have Patriot to the west of us, to have Winsome to the south, and then to have Mirage, to see more discoveries, more new assets be brought to bear in this small part of the world, tells me that we are absolutely where we need to be. That Mirage is incredibly well positioned. This is the type of area that people are going to open up textbooks in the future. And they're going to open up the textbook and they'll say, this is where lithium production comes from. And there'll be a pin, you know, in Norton James Bay, in this newly formed lithium district that we're uncovering on a daily basis, right?
Yes.
And to go back to it, to have an asset like Mirage there, that's what makes it special. You know, if I look at our phase one drilling, which was, you know, not even a year ago for phase one, we made that discovery, you know, August of last year, we had boots on the ground. We were, because of the forest fires, we were delayed getting into the field.
Exactly.
You know, that's the reality of things. But we've always done it in a methodological fashion, systematic exploration, whether it's at a large scale across our portfolio or on a small scale at an asset, right? We want to demonstrate that the potential's there. Off that phase one, all right, we had a top 10 global drill intercept, all right? Our last press release, which was back in January, 38 meters at 1.8, that cracked the top 10 in Q1 for all projects all over the world, all right?
Yes.
It's a good sign, right?
Good sign.
Then in April, we again released a top, I believe it's a top 5. It was compilation was done by Minor Deck. But again, it was a top 10 intercept, but I do believe it was top 5. In May, when we released that 94 meters at 1.5, wouldn't you know, we were number 2 and we got beaten by 1 point. 1 point separated us from at least sharing the first position. So, you know, it's fine, but it shows the potential. And again, I'm very confident that with the drilling we put out in June from our press release, you know, late last week, we will again have another probably top 3, definitely top 5, and assuredly top 10 global drill intercept coming in from Mirage. You know, again, with everything we want to see, nice, thick, pale colored spodumene right from surface. In, you know, a dike swarm that is open in nearly all directions, that has only now seen roughly, call it, you know, 11, 12,000 meters. It is still such early days. We haven't even been here yet a year.
True.
The teams are back in the field right now. They're doing the prospect. They're following up on the prospecting work. We'll have some news release coming up on that at Mirage. It is exactly what we do. We are here to find lithium mines. Mirage is absolutely looking to be the case over here. And it is going to be, you know, a major part of our focus. I mean, we had a plan and we're executing it to the letter.
Yes, I absolutely see that. And given that, you know, so much money goes into drilling, right? I mean, is this like one of the areas, as a general question, is this one of the areas that take up most of the money of companies in the field of exploration? Is drilling like one of the most expenses you can have?
No, look, without a doubt, I would say for most exploration company, their drilling costs will be, you know, the lifeblood, because ultimately it's the, how can I say, it's the truth machine, right?
Okay.
We all like to arm wave in geology. We all like to point at pretty maps with pretty colors on them,
Yeah.
and all these new showings, and it's fine, and it's great to be excited. You know,
Yeah.
I will also be excited about it, but until there's a drill hole in there, it's just a dream.
Yeah.
And when you start drilling it, that's when you start proving it. When you start proving it, that's when things get real. And that's what it's all been about. Our plan is always been a question of, all right, here's our program. We're targeting, you know, we want to see what's the potential here. Is this going to be, and I keep coming back to it, is this going to be a mine? And the fact that we're still drilling it, we're working in that direction. We're actually coming from a different angle here. We're trying to kill the asset. Right? I know that sounds a little bit weird, but that's what any person, any company worth their salt, when they see an asset, they should try to kill it. If they can't kill it, then yeah, they might have something real on their hands. And
Yeah.
that's the way we're trying to work inside Brunswick. We see an asset and we go for the guts. We try to kill it. We try to see, well, what doesn't work in this? Is it going to be the tons, the grade, the metallurgy? We try to answer these questions as quickly as possible because we understand, like, we're trying to be judicious. We're trying to be smart in how we explore here. A lot of people just go ahead and do, we'll call them technical successes. You know, the mining industry is replete with technical successes, not a lot of actual success. And the way you demonstrate an actual success in the exploration business is to build a mine or be acquired by somebody who wishes to build that mine.
Okay.
That's the real proof
Okay.
of exploration success.
So basically, my follow-up question to that is that you must have a strategy when you're drilling in any of one of your assets. I mean, you can't, because it's, it's so expensive, as we're saying, one of the main blood, right? I mean, we just can't go in and say, well, I'm just gonna, shoot in the dark. I mean, you're pretty much, you have a strategy on how you're doing this and why you go a certain way. Is that
No,
correct? Does that make sense?
it's absolutely, it makes sense. You know, what the way we work, the way we target, the areas we look at, those all fall into a plan. Up until now, the type of drilling, we're just trying to understand the scale and size of the asset. That's all we're trying to do right now, funnily enough, right? We're
Yeah.
not trying to be fancy. We're not looking to define resource, although we kind of end up doing so to a
Yeah,
certain
of
extent.
course. Yeah.
But we're just trying to put boundaries on Mirage, right? We're starting to move away from that pure exploration drilling into, okay, well, this is what we're starting to understand. Let's grow these things that we have there. We're not done,
Yes.
but most companies slowly eventually start to transition towards that. And again, that's any asset. That's how we operate. Doesn't matter if it's Mirage, doesn't matter if it's something else we're going to find in the future. We always have the same game plan, right? Which is try to demonstrate the potential as to whether this is going to be a mine based on tonnage, based on grade. You could say width, but that's just another way of saying tonnage,
Okay.
based on metallurgy, based on location. Those again are woven into how we explore. And I'd even say that it's an iterative process, right? Where at the small scale, at the asset scale, obviously based on success, there's the iteration. We grow from our success, and
Yes.
we've been very successful up till now at Mirage, so we wish to continue growing upon that success. But even on the grassroots side, I would say that the more we think about this industry, the more we're starting to change our way of looking at things. We strongly believe that there's the potential that most of North America's lithium needs could be met from Quebec. That's a game changer. That's a pretty important statement, because if you think about it, that means there's a lot of jurisdictions that have potential but will never get developed because there's so much lithium in Quebec that it can be, quote unquote, the lithium breadbasket
Yeah.
of
Absolutely.
North America. Because we're
Yeah.
just starting to see things like Patriot, Winsome, what Arcadium is trying to do,
Yeah.
to a lesser is Soyona, what we're trying to do, Q2, all these other companies out in the space, Comet, looking and finding assets out here drives the importance of Quebec, drives also the importance of an asset like Mirage, saying
Absolutely.
that it has the best zip code in the world,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Unbeatable.
We could even add the fact that, I mean, a company like Northvolt would not just want to come here if there was nothing here. They'd be wasting their time. They've done the research. They know that there's a reason why they're coming here. Why didn't they go to, like, other provinces or other places? It's because of the focus. They've done their research and they're like, no, Quebec is the place to be.
Yeah,
So that's why they stoked here.
I used to say, oh, there's you know, lithium, the North American lithium triangle. All right.
Yeah.
Quebec, Ontario, uh, than the US Northeast, I actually have come to realize that I'm not so sure it's much of a triangle as opposed to a line. The
Okay.
lithium axis,
The
which is
lithium
a
axis.
straight line from Quebec down into the US. It's
Okay, I see
crazy.
what you're saying. Okay, yeah,
It's actually slowly shaping up to be that case. If you really sit down and think about the market and see where things are going,
yeah,
the lithium potential of Quebec is staggering, and its ability to feed North America in lithium is unprecedented.
absolutely.
And that's why, funnily enough, that also starts to drive how we explore outside of Quebec. You know, that people might ask me, well, Killian, why Labrador? Why Greenland? Why Northern Quebec? Well, we're looking in those areas, not for North America, but for Europe. Because we feel and we see the potential, for sure, the exploration potential as always. But we say to ourselves, well, you know, if North America can be supplied from Quebec, what about places like Europe? How do they supply themselves? Where does their lithium come from? And if you sit down and really think about it, I mean, there's a few assets here and there across Europe. Some of them are don't have social acceptability. Some of them don't
That's
have
right.
the grade or the ton. So
Yep.
it's tough. But if I'm in exploring in Greenland and I'm on the coast, I can put it on a boat and send it to Europe pretty easily. If I'm in
Yeah.
Labrador, I can do the same thing.
Good
So
strategy.
now, you know, it's not just about exploring for lithium and if trying to find a lithium mine, but now we're also putting into our exploration strategy the, how can I say this? Um, the market. You know, a lot of companies forget that they're trying, you know, gold, you don't have to worry too much about the market. But in bulk commodities and base commodities, you have to think about your end market. And again, just like we think about mines in Brunswick, we're now starting to think about the end market and
Yeah.
how that should have impact the way we explore. Because I'll promise you, groups like Albemarle, Rio Tinto, Arcadium, you know, any major lithium producer or company that wishes to be a lithium producer, they're thinking about the market.
Oh yeah.
And if people are not thinking about, well, how will this asset fit into the overall market? Maybe you got a bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a bit of a problem because it may impact as to whether this asset ever gets built or ever gets acquired.
Yeah.
And to tie it back into Brunswick, we think about that. We incorporate it into our exploration work. The team, myself, it is something that we look at now every single day and we challenge ourselves. And when I have an asset like Mirage, when I have the rest of my portfolio, we are now challenging ourselves to say, well, will it feed into the right market? Is there a strategy here, not just to find a lithium mine, but to find the lithium market? And absolutely, when it goes back to what I said at the start, with Mirage, we are in a world-class tier one district. I mean, these assets are better than any other spodumene assets all over the world, except for Greenbush and, you know, the one in Congo, Monono, sorry.
Okay. Well, when you're talking about the market in general, uh, you know, you have just to sort of tie things in, yeah, the real estate market. They said that we would be eventually looking at the interest rates going down a little bit, which we saw. 25 basis points came down on that, so things that were forecasted is actually happening, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
And but they've also talked about a reversal in the commodities. And you know having this market that we're in right now. I mean, I was looking at the Russell 2000. You have it's pretty flat. The Russell 3000 is good because you have these major companies, the large caps, that are pretty much dominating the sector. But they say if you do the research on that, well, meaning not if you do the research, but if the people do the research out there, you being an analyst, you'll know 100 times better than me in the past. But just from my own research, when it's built this way, at one point you do have a reversal that occurs. And according to a lot of the analysts that are out there, they're talking about the second half in a revival of the commodity sector, slowly building up towards that. I mean, that would put Brunswick in an excellent position because it's also all your summer drilling results will be coming out in the results will be coming out in that time.
So, look, absolutely. You know, my view in Brunswick has always been very simple. And it's a view that I've always shared to go back to my analyst days. You have to be doing something. I don't care what it is, but a junior exploration company that does nothing is a waste of time
Absolutely.
because you need to be moving the needle. Otherwise, just own the underlying commodity. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're in the copper space and you're doing nothing, just own copper instead of buying that stock because you're just going to be faced with dilution without actually having any upside, right?
that's right.
That's not how we think inside Brunswick exploration. But when you take a step back and you look at the market, you know, you look at some of the sentiment, it's still so disconnected from the commodity price. I mean, you know, there was a short squeeze on the copper price, but it still ran. It still ran so hard. The gold price ran. The lithium price pulled back to its low of 800 and then rallied almost what 40% off its lows. 40%. I mean, that's an astounding thing for it to do. And I think it shows the volatility we've built into this market over the last 10 years or over the last 10, 15 years. The market is such is so dysfunctional. And I mean this as the mining sector as a whole is so dysfunctional. Yet the globe's objective on decarbonization dwarfs so much what the industry can do that, yeah, there's going to be a reckoning here. I mean, there's absolutely going to be a reckoning between the commodity price and the equity price.
Yeah.
You know, I look at some of the companies who say, oh, well, you know, some of the gold companies are performing, your Nico Eagles and stuff like that. But honestly, it's as if gold was at 1800. It makes no difference. I mean, they rallied a little bit, but not enough for a clear punch through 2000 on the gold price, 2200, 1400. Same thing on the copper price. Like no one wants to believe these market. Yet, you know, every mining CEO, investor, analyst will tell you. I mean, we're all canaries in a coal mine saying like, guys, this is not sustainable. I mean, you can't ask the industry to, you know, mine more copper than it ever has over the next 25 years. You know, there was a report, I think it was from the University of Michigan, saying exactly that. Over the next 25 years, we need to mine the equivalent of all the copper we've mined in our history, human civilization, civilized history. I mean, that's an insane statement to make. And I don't know how we're going to do it. So yeah, expect to see commodity price to continue to rise and to rise at level that are higher than most people expect. Honestly, you know, much, much higher than people expect. And, you know, you can't take away a real asset.
No,
You know, when
no,
you think
no.
about the type of work that mining companies do, exploration companies do, especially exploration companies,
Yeah,
you know, those are real assets. They're not going anywhere. You know, never forget a mining company, the first day the trucks start mining it, the value of the asset is going down.
absolutely.
On a in a long enough time frame, it's going to zero. It can take 15 years, maybe they bring 15 years to 25 years, maybe they bring 25 years to 50 years. Doesn't matter. They're just delaying that it's going to go to zero. And no matter what, they're gonna have to replenish their portfolio of assets. And when you look
Absolutely.
at the lithium side, that's where the opportunity is, right? All
Yes,
these companies want to be in the space. They don't have assets. They
absolutely.
frankly, they don't. The juniors have them. And that's the advantage that we want to take inside Brunswick. That's always been our view of the market, where here was an opportunity for us to consolidate exploration, make discoveries like Mirage. So let's go. Let's do that. Let's do it some more.
Now, because the market right now is not so great, I just have two more questions for you, and then you could end it off how in whatever you have the last thing to say to investors. Um, the fact that it's such a bad market right now in the commodity sector, is it an issue raising money in the sector, or if the companies know, or the banks or the financial institutions know, wow, there's something here, or so, how does this work exactly with money in the sector? Is there any fears of that?
Look, there's two ways of looking at this.
Yeah.
First of all, I I actually disagree with the statement that the markets are, you know, at their worst. Let me tell
Okay.
you, 2015, 2016,
Okay. Yeah.
9 years ago, oh boy, that was some hot garbage. That was a that was a dumpster fire of a market because we didn't
Okay.
realize, but essentially, China was undergoing a manufacturing recession. Go back to that time. It got so bad that the only way that the zinc price, and I'm going to use zinc here, the
Okay.
only way that the zinc price looked any good back in 2015, Glencore had to shut down something like 25% of global production
What?
just to maintain a sustainable zinc price. That's how terrible it is. No one cared about mining. Like, no one cared. Oh my God, it was the worst job in the world. It was miserable to be in the mining industry. 2014, 15, 16, it was terrible.
Okay.
Now, there is a disconnect. There absolutely is a disconnect. But I would argue that there's back then, if you had a good project, it would be tough to finance. Honestly, it'd be tough to finance because I remember I was covering good companies, I was working for good companies, and it was still hard to finance those assets. I'm I'm convinced that if you have a good asset, you have a good company, there's one side of the market that may or may not want to play, that may have difficulties, but sophisticated investors are absolutely there. They care
Yeah.
about
Gina Reinhardt.
well,
Look at how much she paid to go into lithium, right? I mean, she didn't care.
Gina
She was like, I'm
Reinhardt,
gonna fight, I'll fight this tooth and nail. It's my asset. We're keeping it in Australia. Yeah, you're
yeah, but,
right.
but but look
Absolutely.
but look at the rest of the space. Gina Reinhardt, BHP going after Anglo, even closer to home inside, the family. Osisco Metals, bringing on Appian. I mean, Osisco Metals at the time of bringing on Appian had a market cap of like 45-50 million dollars. Brought on a partner that valued the Pine Point asset just shy of $200 million. I mean, that's that's a huge disconnect between the two,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's a massive disconnect because you
Yes.
know what? Everyone understands these assets are real. They're not going anywhere. And if you control them, you are going to control the market on a long-term basis. And it goes right back to looking in terms of financing companies right now. If
Okay.
you have a real asset, if you're doing real work, investors are always going to be there to support it because
Okay.
there's always going to be value. They understand mining is not a 3 month game, a 6 month game. I can put out great results in 3 months, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it's about that long-term value. People go into it because they want a 10 bagger and understand that it's going to take a couple of years to execute. My God, can you make a lot of money if you hold on? And that's
Okay.
what it boils down to. It's the exact same way of looking at it.
Okay.
Hasn't even been a year since we've been
No,
at
it's true. It
Mirage.
hasn't. No. I
It
mean,
hasn't even
we spoke about it, but there was nothing done because of the forest fires. That
exactly
that's it.
12 months, not
Yeah.
even 12 months. Think about everything that companies like how long it takes them to do work. And
Yeah.
here we're at month 9, and I'm already telling you that we've been featured 3 times.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
Top 10 in Q1 from
Yeah.
drill results from Mirage.
Yeah.
Then, top 5 in April, top 2, well,
Yeah.
second, I should say, top 3, but
Whatever.
second
Yeah.
in May. And I promise you, I'm gonna, you know,
Okay,
you,
I know.
you
I know what you're
can
saying.
chastise me if I'm wrong, but I'm convinced I'm gonna hit top 5 again for this quarter. I mean, that's
Okay.
back to back top 10 in the world for Mirage. That tells you the type of work that we're doing. But
All
again,
right.
it's about doing things in the correct fashion.
Okay. Well, you know what? I have a last thing to say. It's a general conversation type thing. It has nothing to do really. It ties into BRW, but the lithium
Yeah.
space, whatever. You know, 2 years, 2.5 years ago, I don't know when it was, but it's been a while now. Time goes by so fast. When we first started talking, we were talking about how you loved your FEV, your PHEV vehicle. And I was like, oh well, you know what? I was thinking about getting one with my wife. We're sort of debating. We were having such a hard time with it because people that don't have electric vehicles, people that don't have FEVs, whatever, there's a fear about this whole range anxiety and all this kind of stuff. The infrastructure is not there, blah, 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 right? I spoke to you about those issues and the fact that you had a FEV and you took the time to talk to me and explain to me about how much you liked your FEV and why. That it pretty much convinced me to go get one. I ended up waiting 2 years on a list, not because no one was building them, but because the lists were so long. It was incredible. There's so much people on all these lists that they just couldn't provide the FEVs or electric vehicles to these people, and they were leaving all the gasolines on the lot. Okay, including us. So we got our FEV. We haven't used in that vehicle. Okay, we went to Lake George. We spent like 1 hour was EV, and it was like about an hour and a half or whatever of gas. In the city and the surrounding areas, we have not used a single ounce of gas with this FEV. We've been to Terrebonne, Mascouche from the West Island. That's about 70 something kilometers. Recharging battery as you're driving, you could use that and then increase the distance. You get to the other end, and you're like, oh, well, do I have to put gas in? No, I mean, you get it to a charging station where there's almost no one parked at them. You put your thing on 2 hours, 3 hours, level two, $2, $3, costs you nothing. You drive back home, no gas. We have wasted zero gas, which means that from this family of four, going to soccer games, going to piano lessons, going all these things, swimming, the amount of time we take this. My wife used it to go to work and back, everything, not 1 ounce of gas. Cutting emissions, because we have to think about this, cutting
Yeah.
emissions, right? From the carbon emissions, the footprint. So a lot of people are afraid of infrastructure, but I don't think that they understand because I didn't understand. We don't have enough gas stations. The mentality is because we're used to gas stations. We don't have enough gas stations. We don't have enough, EV plugins at gas stations. Like, but you don't need them there. That's not where they're needed because your infrastructure is your home. Your
Yes.
infrastructure is when you get to work. Your infrastructure is at that. If you go to a tourist place and you have like, 5 level 3s or 2 level 2 chargers are there, and your app, when it's charged, you could just go back because you're on a hike or walk or whatever. You're eating somewhere after 2 hours. Okay, unplug it depending on the distance that you need. The infrastructure, unless you're going from here to Toronto, okay, whatever. But you have a FEV. If everybody were going towards a FEV, local driving, surrounding areas, everybody would be cutting emissions insanely. So all I want to do is ask you about this because the last few weeks when it was like 38 degrees outside in the beginning of June, I was going, oh my God, because the trend is in North America, we are increasing in like heat, global
Yeah.
heat average. South America, not so much so. It's still increasing, but very slowly because the landmass population and everything is above the northern hemisphere. There's a direct correlation with human activity and carbon emissions. We all have FEVs. That is one way of drastically reducing this. Do you have anything to say on that? Because definitely lithium is here to stay. Those government regulations put in place, they're there for a reason. So all these people that are saying, "Oh, gas vehicles is the only way," and I completely disagree. What do you have to say on that? Knowing that you also have
So,
children, I have children. We're fathers, right?
look,
So
yeah. Look, before I jump into it, talking about temperature. I will say that I got a picture from the teams up at Mirage. They're playing beach volleyball by the lake. Let me tell you, they shouldn't be playing beach volleyball by the lake. Not because I'm a jerk boss, because it shouldn't be this warm in
yeah,
early June, right?
yeah, no,
Especially in the James Bay. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense
it
for
doesn't.
it to hit like 31 degrees Celsius in the
No,
James Bay in June. It's a little bit, we'll say, abnormal to say the
yes,
least. Now, you know, you hit a good point. in terms of PHEVs, yes, I freaking love mine. I've had
I
now
love mine.
for going on what, year number 7 or 6, I can't remember exactly. But like, we gassed up in April and we're now what, mid-June. If we gassed up early April, we're mid-June, still haven't even hit half of our tank.
Yeah,
I mean,
insane.
we probably won't gas up the car until mid to late July at the earliest,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Which is an insane concept. That's
yeah.
fantastic.
Think about
I
how
mean,
much just you and I are cutting emissions. Imagine if everybody was doing that.
yeah, exactly. And to your point, the fun thing is that you almost have to rethink how you look at cars once you move to this system, right? Once you move to a plug-in hybrid
Yes.
or a full EV. I
Yep.
think everyone, if you have a second car and you're not getting yourself a full electric, you're crazy. I
Oh
mean, your
yeah, my
second
second
car
car is definitely being full electric. We're looking
should
at it
be
now.
100%
100%. There's no
yeah,
need. There's no
no,
need. FEV
no.
for the first one, electric, full electric for the second.
Absolutely. But then to go back to it, I mean, it's liberating to a
Yeah,
certain extent, right?
it
It's
is.
absolutely liberating to, I come into the office. Yeah, I charge in the office. If the few times where I do drive in, mostly in the winter months, like I call it a joke. Like it's so
It is a
simple.
joke.
I, go out to go to Montreal, we go for a restaurant. Perfect. I'm gonna charge my car while we eat. We go to a family event. Perfect. I charge my car while we're at this event where we're biking across Montreal. Doesn't matter. We can charge almost whenever we can find the infrastructure. And that's where once you start to see it in action, it's so amazing. It's
It
so
is.
liberating to be like, hey, look, I'm doing another activity and I'm charging at the same time. And
Yeah.
you look at what's happening in China, right, where they actually went all in on this,
Yeah.
right? They needed to cut their emission.
Oh yeah,
And
big time.
we are so far, and that's what saddens me, is that we are so far behind. Even in Quebec, which has a great charging infrastructure, we're so far behind in terms of what we can potentially do in terms of freeing ourselves
Oh yeah.
from almost this chain. Like I'm there and I'm just looking at people and I'm like, okay, hold on to your full gas car. I mean, I remember we would gas up when I had, prior to my PHEV, we would gas up. It was a Mazda. It was a great car. Gas up every week.
Oh yeah, no.
And now it's like almost foreign to me to go to a gas station. I'll go to a gas station more often to buy windshield wiper fluid in the winter months to clean my windows with the squeegee
Yeah.
than it is to
Oh,
gas up. But like
I
that's a liberating concept to
yeah.
go through. So you know what? Look, they're absolutely here to stay. When
Oh
it
yeah.
comes to transportation, lithium is the solution. It's that simple. I mean, just from a physics perspective,
Yeah.
you want energy density, you want, cars that have range. There's a lot of noise. And I guess I'll close this. There's a lot of noise when it comes to this industry, whether on the exploration side, or you say, I'm exploring for lithium. Oh, wait, what is it? Is it going to be salars, brines, DLE, hard rock? Okay, you're doing hard rock. Is it lepidolite, spodumene? Simplify. We've been mining spodumene for like 100 years. It's the simplest form to extract lithium from. It's tried, it's proven. That's what we explore for in Brunswick. We simplify everything. If you want to get complicated, look at those other ways of extracting lithium. I find mining and I find exploration hard enough as it is. I don't need to add more to that. And it's the same thing when you think about, all these the lithium potential. It's a proven technology. It is a technology that offers still so much potential. I mean, we are not yet at its final form. The lithium battery of today looks nothing like the lithium battery of 10 years ago, will look nothing like the lithium batteries 10 years from now. We are still developing better and more efficient and more energy dense batteries every single year. And that's what makes me, that's why when I look at this and I hear all this noise and I tell people, look, keep it simple. Lithium works. From a pure chemical perspective, we will struggle to find that anything that can beat it. It's abundant in the right places. You know, it's a technology that we invest in as a society and that will prove to be highly beneficial for all of us.
I agree. And on that point, Killian, thank you so much for being on Between Plays. It's great having you here.
As always, a pleasure.
Between Plays, it's the journey and what you do between where you are and where you want to be. Research, prepare, plan, and execute your strategy. Do your DD and stay strong in visualizing and achieving your goals. Our strategy is unique since 2020. An original concept imitated, never duplicated. Real conversations with media influencers, educational and expert speakers, analysts and consultants. Between Plays, bridging the gap between companies and investors.